People prefer to give their money to someone they know, like, and trust. How do we get them to know, like, and trust us? Become the client's expert or trusted advisor. How do you become the trusted expert or trusted advisor? By following the process and the steps that I've just been talking about for the pre-consultation, consultation, and of course the over-the-phone process right back at the very beginning. Now, contrary to popular belief, price is not usually the most important thing when a consumer makes a purchase. What is? Value, quality, and buying from a reputable company. Once people see you as their trusted advisor or their trusted expert, they are most likely going to buy from you. Why it's so important to establish a budget. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, I'd rather know how to establish the budget. But the reality is, right now at this stage, why it's important is actually more important than how. Why it's so important, well, there's why it's so important. My landscape's going to cost how much? This is a client that's just had their landscape priced or quoted from a landscaper that didn't get the budget or didn't get the spend limit during the consultation process. But I thought it would be more like $25,000. I didn't realise it would cost $65,000. And this or similar situations is so common. And I remember many times walking away from having presented the quote to the client feeling really ticked off. The reality and the blunt truth is this: if this is happening to you, then it is not the client's fault. And you may not like this, but it's your fault. What it simply means is you don't have a process that's sufficient enough to either filter out tire kickers and or capture the client's budget or spend limit. And if you don't do those two things, this is what's going to happen, and maybe this is what's happening to you all too often. Have you ever felt like this after you spent hours pricing the project for the client? Or even worse, one of your competitors gets the project. And then you get the, we'll have a bit of a think about it, or we'll get back to you speech. Which quite simply means they're never coming back. And you hear stuff from the landscapes like, yeah, but that's what the client asked me to price. Or yeah, but that's what a landscape like that costs. Well, yeah, it is, but it was your job to get a spend limit out of the client. It was your job back at the consultation stage. Whether it's the pre-consultation or the on-site consultation, doesn't matter. It was your job to give the client some sort of an idea of where they're heading with their budget. How was I to know the client only had a small budget? You were to know because you should have had a good discover the budget strategy. How to get the client to reveal their budget, and like I said before, I can't give you the actual mechanics of how it works today due to time restraints, etc. But what I can give you is the overall concept of how it works. So there's the hard way, which is to price the job and then discover it's miles over the client's budget. And then they tell you the budget maybe, or they tell your competitor what the budget is, like I've just mentioned before, and you're left thinking, why wouldn't they tell me before? The easy way is to become the trusted expert and use the right tools. So, handling the inquiry over the phone more effectively and running a unique consultation. Those are two really big parts of how this works. Just a quick recap: create a precise over the phone time waster filter with a good system and a good script. Don't attempt to force the budget over the phone, as it's far too early and it will only make people suspicious. It's part of the whiskers and cheese thing about the big scary cat, or it's part of the first date then asking them to marry you type of thing. build trust, become their go-to guy or their trusted advisor, and establish the budget at the P.CC. Now the P.CC is the pre-consultation. We spent quite a bit of time on today. People must see you for a P.CC prior to the regular consultation. The exception to that rule, of course, is if they're an existing client or a repeat client. Have a P.CC process that totally wows the potential client and leaves them wanting more. The slice of pizza or the aroma of the pizza thing. The client must see you as, and you should know this by now, their trusted expert or their go-to guy. Don't try to sell, instead guide the client towards making a purchase. When you do it this way, when you use the P.CC process and the different tools, and we haven't talked about everything yet, we haven't got time to go through everything today, and there's a lot more information in the next video. But when you guide the client towards making the purchase, it happens organically. It happens all by itself. You won't need to try and actually sell to the client. Develop and use systems, tools and procedures that make it easy and predictable, both for you and for your client.